Hey there, guys. How you doing? It is Joe and Darren over at Urban Hillsides Real Estate with another edition of Real Estate Reality. And Darren, we need to do some housekeeping. We've had some active listings coming up. We've had some sold listings. So let's just dig right into it, guys. We're going to try to get this done in 10 minutes or less. And after that, we'll go into interest rates and then our subject, which is about future lending standards with a question mark. So let me go ahead and share my screen. Bear with me, guys. Share screen and see. Screen and boom. Okay. So, Darren, do you see my screen?
I do. Yes.
Okay, wonderful. So, on the active side, guys, we have in Silver Lake 2226 Oak Glen Place. And that's also 2228 Oak Glen Place, right, Darren? We have a home plus an ADU. It's pending right now. And that's going for the price of 1,445,000. Anything about that, Darren?
ADU is newer, house and
Ah, right.
remodel, completely
Yep.
detached, like completely separate yards, not connected at all. A great place. Great
Yep.
opportunity for somebody who wants to own and have supplemental income.
Right. Great. And the next thing that we go to Pasadena, 121 South Wilson Avenue, Unit 205. It's a two-bedroom, two-bath condo, and that is $758,000. Anything about that one, Darren?
Every condo questions are laundry and patio,
Yeah,
an enormous
sure.
patio, mid-sized building at 18 units, really nice space.
Right.
The struggle has been some high HOAs, but
Yeah.
great opportunity. It really is in a great location.
Yeah. Yeah. I love this unit. Okay, and then I'm going to skip to some solds and then I'll go back to our upcoming active. We just did a private sale up in Montecito Heights, 1355 Montecito Circle, a beautiful three-bedroom, three-bath pool home plus a studio. Uh, it worked out well. Congratulations to them. They were tenants there and they loved the house so much, they bought it. So,
They bought it. They
any
got a
observations
great
there, Darren?
price. We
They
love
did.
Montecito
They
Heights,
did.
man. We really do.
Yeah.
The Circle
Yeah.
is the best spot. Pool home is rare. Uh,
Yeah.
it's a great buy for the buyers. It needed some work, which is why the price was a little lower. But yeah, congrats to all of it.
Yeah. All right. And then the other sold recent is in Mount Washington, 4230 Palmero Drive. It's a two-bedroom, two-bath home, and it went for 77,000 over asking. I'm trying to remember the price. What was it?
Uh,
Million four. I don't even remember.
it was
Was
a
it four?
million 395 to start. We ended up at a million 462, I think. Yeah, million four
Four
six
six
two.
two. I think you're right.
Yeah,
Yeah. Beautiful mid-century. Really happy for these buyers as well, and our seller who had lived there a long time. Incredible view.
love
Incredible
this
view.
house.
You know.
Just
Yep.
it's that escaping into your own space. I mean, this is it. It's a lovely street, and the views are just they can
Yeah.
mesmerize you every night.
Yep. All right, and then I'm going to move to another screen, and we're going to talk about our upcoming listing. And this is Lemerritt Park Spanish. Do you see that, Darren?
I do.
All right. And we'll have an open house this Sunday, 1 to 4. And it's a three-bedroom, two-bath, around 1,600 square feet, 1,350,000 is the price that I have. Is that correct, Darren?
That is great
Okay.
house,
Hmm.
centrally located. Just love Spanish, man. They're so emotional and you feel side piece. Huge primary bathroom,
Yeah.
primary suite at the back of the property, semi-finished garage. You know, not only is it nice, great, clearly move-in ready, but also opportunities for expansions into the garage with an ADU or just an office.
Yep. Yep. Beautiful. All right. So hope to see you there, or if you have friends looking, Sunday 1 to 4, and this is 3927 Dagnan Boulevard in Lemert Park. All right. So there we go. It's been busy, hasn't it, Darren? Thank
It
goodness.
has. It's we've been fortunate, man.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, look, guys, we are going to look at interest rates, and let's take a look at Mortgage News Daily. That is kind of the bellwether place to go for what's happening across the nation. And what you see there is 30-year fixed 7.05%. It went up 0.04. And then you have 15-year fixed 6.44, 30-year jumbo 7.35, and then SOFR ARM. I'm not familiar with that. 7.6. SOFR ARM 6.85, 30-year FHA 6.4, 30-year VA 6.43. So yeah,
Yeah, those FHA rates are great, man. It's hard to buy a house in
yeah,
a lot of the areas we serve on FHA, but if it works,
mm,
it's a substantial savings.
yeah, yeah. All right, so that is what it is. That is the reality of interest rates. And to quickly dovetail into our subject for today, it's about future lending standards. And, for us, Darren and I were talking about what our subject would be for today. And I said, maybe we should just come up with the pros and cons. What are the kind of the hot button issues that are happening in the market, real estate market? And I said, Darren, why don't you put together like 10? I'm sure you could have gone on, but for Darren, as he's looking at this, he told me, he's like, ah, man, it's all so negative. It's not good.
Yeah.
Don't like this. And I agreed with him. But he did say there was one recurring theme to all this, and it was about affordability, right? This is all wrapped into how can we afford the future home. And Darren, you came up with some nice, positive, forward looking solutions. So let's go ahead and get into it. Um,
I
I
want
see a question mark here. Go ahead.
I want to clarify one thing, and
Yeah.
affordability is also something you don't think about this for your buyer, but even on the seller
Mhm.
side, there's an
Yep.
affordability to get to the next phase of life. And we also talk about
Mhm.
this in our summary here. Certainly on the buyer side,
Yep.
it's clearly difficult, but on the seller side too, there's some transitional things to that
Oh
have put them
yeah.
on
Yeah.
pause, which is affecting the overall
Yep.
market. Go
Yeah.
ahead, Jeff.
Sellers do become buyers. Yep. All right. So you were talking about loan adjustments. Can they help real estate? And the subtext here is finding the positive in reducing oversight for those who are self-regulated. Now, I had a question about that. Why don't you explain to them what you mean by that? You've got your
Sure.
own story.
Self-regulated is was your very specific
Yeah.
question. Sure. So look, there are products that can be more flexible. And I think about, and I'm going to go right there, back to 2000 to 2006. Uh,
Mm.
Products went off the rails, man. I mean,
Yeah.
low FICO, no down, interest only, NAGAM, if you had a pulse.
Right.
And that was wrong.
Right.
It was too far.
Yeah.
But we're
Yeah.
now very buttoned up, very tight, and it doesn't
Yeah.
work today. It doesn't work for the majority of buyers and even sellers transitioning out to new phases of life. So it's got to
Right.
be looked at, and clearly we all know there's a goal of on the federal level of deregulation. And yes, as you said, Joe, we're trying to find some positive in the deregulation component,
Yeah.
and there can be. And
Yeah.
my story is back in the 2000s. That was when I was buying and selling property, and I bought multiple properties, and I used those um, loans that were not standardized because otherwise I
Yeah.
wouldn't have been able to afford to extend myself on the level I did. But I was disciplined. Okay. I did put a down payment if I could. In some cases, I didn't, but I made the payments and I lived below my means. And if there was an opportunity to refinance, I didn't take money out. If it was an interest only
Yeah.
loan, I paid some principal to create a better future opportunity. So I know it's nice to think that we can maintain the guardrails um,
Yeah.
and prevent everybody from hurting themselves. But in this environment, let's be realistic. Either wages need to double, there needs to be a
Right.
huge housing crash, or we need to
Right.
reconsider how we look at ownership and the opportunities to get into ownership. And that's where we're coming from when we talk about these
Yeah.
few considerations.
Well, that does seem to be the best reality, that third option of, yeah, lending, how does it change and how do we look at ownership? So, yeah, deregulation is not all bad. But as you're saying, it does take some self discipline and some self regulation on our side.
Yeah.
And I think we've all gotten a little better. I know loans are definitely more solid at this point. But yeah, some deregulation would help. So, one of your ideas was longer term mortgage rates could be normalized, 40 to 50-year mortgage. What do you say about that?
Well, it's not a new concept. It
Hmm.
exists. The two
Okay.
countries that came up in my quick search were France and Spain. This is the standard, and I'm sure it's other countries that have this longer term. They
Hmm.
look at it. I've heard it called a generational loan. And in the
Hmm.
USA, there's still a contingent that thinks of the the I'm going to pay my mortgage off as I move into retirement. But I
Yeah.
think that is fading, right or wrong. It's
Yeah.
fading, and most people
Yep.
don't do it. What's more
Right.
common than not is that they end up selling because of the equity they made, often just adjusted for inflation over an extended period of time, and buying down. And that is a realistic way to move into retirement years in a healthy way.
Right.
But one of the problems there then becomes, it's a good problem to have. I'm aware of this, but it becomes the
Mm.
taxes involved in the sale. Um,
Right.
and for me, what was interesting there, one of the biggest issues in buying a house is coming up with the down payment. So in the past 10, 15 years, we've been real estate agents. Many people are borrowing down payments from family. It's become very common.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
I had this kind of maybe out of the box idea that, you know, on the federal side, give the seller a tax break on their on the sale on their capital gains if they
Yep.
contribute to a buyer's down payment. And I don't know what
Yep.
ratio or percentage, but that would be amazing. That's a win-win.
Yep. Yep.
Um, right.
Well, and as you're saying, with some of these, with some of the equity that we're all getting from all this, it goes well past the usual capital gains, right? We need some relief on that side.
It does. So there's a
To
pause. People are
and
not
this
selling
is
because
a
they don't want to
solution to
pay it.
that.
Right.
Yeah,
It is a
this would
solution.
be a
Yeah,
solution
and
to
some
that.
people are taking that equity and building EDUs, and
Hmm.
and in some cases that's generating money. But the reality is, I would say there's 10% of people might be good landlords. I
Hmm.
see more bad situations come up with people trying to be landlords. It's hard. It's
Yeah.
doable, and it's definitely an avenue for future financial stability. The ADUs absolutely work in multi generational housing. You just have to
Hmm.
deal with the multi generational component
Yeah.
of life. But that's the
Right.
reality we live in. Um,
Yeah.
so again, just looking at opportunities that really work.
Yeah. You were reminding me, we have reverse mortgages now. We are, as you're saying, starting to accept and change our ideas on what home ownership is and different lending vehicles uh, to make it happen, later
I'm
in life.
so glad you brought that up, Joe, because reverse mortgages are
Yeah.
now federally insured. They're
Mm.
not the product they used to be, which were just private mortgages. They established their own standards. So there's a
Mm.
federal guideline that
Yeah.
they have to abide by so that they can take this mortgage and sell it as a mortgage backed security and have it packaged and off their books. And trust me,
Yeah.
that's what all banks want to do this. They don't want to keep that money out. It limits their ability to lend to other people.
Now, the second idea you had was also about interest only payments. So interest
Yes.
only mortgages as another option. Why don't you
It's
talk about that?
sure. So again, one of the things I mentioned, even when talking about the longer term on mortgage rates,
Mm.
What happens over time? I've always looked at housing as a hedge against inflation. We know
Right.
we've been in an inflationary environment and we're kind of stable right now. But the reality is the government wants inflation in small amounts. And you don't have to go back very far, just look at what I bought my first house at 150,000. Or my parents probably bought their first house at 25,000 and so on and so on. So if you're making interest only payments, you can still it can
Can
still
still
be a
win.
wealth generator or at minimum a
Yeah.
hedge against inflation. And here's
Yeah.
where, circling back, where kind of the self discipline comes in. You can, even on an interest only loan, if you are disciplined
Hmm.
and want to have that forced savings, which a mortgage makes you do. That forced savings is basically paying down what you owe.
Right.
You can make a principal payment. You don't have to
Yeah.
only make an interest payment. You can add that principal, and maybe that means you can only afford an interest only payment today, but you in the future you expect your wealth to
Hmm.
grow. You don't have
Yeah.
to get rid of that loan. You can keep that
Yeah.
loan and then just start adding principal payments every time
Yeah.
you send in a payment.
Yeah.
Again,
Yeah.
self-regulated. It's where the deregulation can benefit those who regulate themselves.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, I like those solutions. Let's see if they happen in the near future. I think those are some great options. Anything else you wanted to kind of summarize on that, Darren?
I wanted to drop in one more point because
Mm.
Fannie and Freddie are overseen by the federal government right now. Um, and it's likely that they will become privatized again, which they were prior to
Hmm.
the housing crash. Um,
Hmm.
and it will probably take that to open up some of these variable products in the mortgage space. So keep an eye on that. Something to watch.
Yeah. Yeah. Big change right there. All right. Well, great, Darren. Good talking to you. Let's do this more.
Yeah.
And yeah, guys, just have a great week. If you have any questions, of course, we're here for you. Just give us a call. All right. Take care. Bye now.
Bye.